Welcome to Capital Link's Trending News podcast series. In this podcast series, we have the chance to discuss with company management on recent news and announcements that they have made. I'm Nikolas, Bornozis, president of Capital Link, and we have with us today the founder and CEO of Tsakos Energy Navigation of TEN Ltd, Dr. Nikolas P. Tsakos. Also, Dr. Tsakos served as the chairman of Intertanko, the Independent Tanker Owners Association, for 4 years during 2014 and 2018. So our discussion today will highlight TEN's business developments and the overall tanker sector outlook. A quick reminder of our disclaimer that our podcasts are provided purely for informational and educational purposes. They do not constitute investment advice or advice of any kind, and of course, Capital Link bears no responsibility for them. And as an additional disclosure, we have the privilege to work with TEN on investor relations. Now, before I pass the floor over to Dr. Tsakos, I would like to give a brief description of TEN as a reminder. TEN was founded in 1993 and with a fleet of 4 tankers, and has since become one of the largest independent energy transporters in the world. Today, with a versatile fleet of 74 double hull vessels, diversified across the main energy sectors: product tanker, crude tankers, LNG, and shuttle tankers. The total capacity of the fleet is 9.1 million deadweight. TEN was founded in 1993. It got listed on the Oslo Stock Exchange in 1994 and moved its listing over to the New York Stock Exchange in 2002. And it is one of a transporter of choice, a partner of choice for major oil companies and other blue chip global energy concerns. Its focus on fleet modernity, operational excellence, and balanced fleet employment has enabled the company to produce strong results throughout the market cycles. Over its 20-year presence on the New York Stock Exchange, TEN has generated net income in excess of $2.5 billion and has made uninterrupted payments of common and preferred dividends in excess of $750 million, regardless of market cyclicality. And as I mentioned, the company's common shares are traded on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol TNP. And with this, I will welcome Dr. Tsakos and start our discussion. Dr.
Thank
Tsakos.
you, Nick. It's great to be in New York, and also it's a nice opportunity to bring good news, as we have tried to always do for our shareholders and our stakeholders in the team. As you very rightly said, we announced our results just a couple of weeks ago on March the 27th. It has been another record year, so our 30th year has been a milestone record year, followed by the previous record year, which was our 20th year on the New York Stock Exchange. And this last year has been our 30th year as a public company overall, including our Nordic years. So with that, please let me know if I could be useful in further clarifying where the company is going with your questions.
Thank you. So I alluded in my opening remarks about the cornerstones of your strategy, but I would like you to elaborate more on those. 2023 has been a record year for TEN, but please share us the highlights of this record year and the main strategy drivers which have culminated into this achievement.
Thank you. Well, you know, I mean, as you see in the slide, TEN and I too have been a very seasoned company. We've been around for 30 years, have been through a lot of ups and downs in a very cyclical market. You know, starting by, I think very few around here might remember the Far East crisis that actually created huge opportunities for new buildings and for renewal of our fleet. Then, of course, we had the very sad events of 9/11 and the creation of freezing of trade after that for a period of time. And a few years later, the credit crisis, which actually drove world trade to a halt for at least a year until credit lines were able to be put together so people could trade internationally. And after a period of ups and downs, and we had, of course, COVID and the recent geopolitical events, being in Ukraine and in the Middle East. So we are going through from crisis to crisis, but if you look at the graph, we keep on growing the company, and not only growing the company in numbers of ships. Of course, a company has to have a significant number of vessels in order to be able to be a major player in international energy transportation, and that's what we are. And we started the company with 4 at the time older ships, and we have brought it where it's today. But we've done that without ever stopping paying a dividend, without ever stopping to pay, of course, any of our preferreds, which are trading amazingly well for the shareholders. And more importantly, we have never failed to fulfill our obligations to our bankers. And I think we must be one of the very, very few companies that has a record like this. And all of this has been done, following a similar strategy, but always having our eyes open in changes in our industry around us. So 2023 was a year in which we followed our strategy. We actually sold some of our first generation vessels, ships that we actually built back in the early 2000s. And because of market conditions, we were able to sell them almost at the similar prices as we built them all the way back there following the 9/11 crisis, which I mentioned. So we were able to sell 9 vessels, create a very strong liquidity on the balance sheet, but at the same time, by now, have 18 new vessels, some of them delivered, some of them for order. I think we have all this information in our press release. So the company is renewing. We will have 6 LNG fueled vessels. We are actually looking at methanol fueled vessels going forward. And we do this also, having a profit, reducing debt, and growing the business. So I have to say we're very proud of our seafarers, our onshore personnel, and the management for being able to keep all the balls in the air in an ever-changing environment which we operate in the high seas. Nick?
Nikolas, you're on mute.
I think we lost some of
Yes,
our teams.
I had, I'm sorry, I was muted. So I was saying that in your recent fourth quarter results, you emphasized your commitment to fleet modernization and revenue growth. And indeed, TEN has always been very active in S&P. Buying and selling vessels has been a big part of your overall strategy. Now, since the beginning of 2013, you sold 9 vessels, and you contracted or acquired another 16. So quite an active track record.
And a few more since, but we will get into this in our next press release. We are signing 2 more vessels in a very specific segment, which are the LR2 vessels and then LR1 vessels, so product carriers in both cases, and MRs, and selling again since the end of the year at very profitable levels, creating increased liquidity from our very strong already liquidity, and making sure that the company has legs to go for many, many more years of growth.
Thank you. Now, looking at TEN's fleet profile, you are diversified, as I mentioned, across the main energy sectors: product tankers, crude tankers, LNG, and shuttle tankers. Now, is there a sector among those that you plan to put more attention on, or one sector where you plan to grow more?
Well, Nick, as you know, we are client-driven. So, I mean, we can operate any type of energy vessel our clients want us to. We specifically like to focus also on specialized segments like the shuttle tankers and, of course, green vessels, LNG fueled or methanol vessels of any kind. So I think this is our priority. I think one of the benefits we have and why we've been around for such a long time is through our diversity, which is a very popular word in recent times. We are able always to choose the transaction that makes more sense to the bottom line. So if we do have LNGs, but we are not an LNG company. So when a transaction comes, we do not have to scrap the bottom of the barrel and accept a 6, 5, 7% return, which is dilutive to our for our shareholders and ourselves. So we can do, let's say, a shuttle tanker deal that might be in the high 20s, or another transaction on a VLCC or a Suezmax. So I think that diversity has worked for the company very well. I know, but I'm too old now to change, that many people say, yes, but you're too diversified and you get penalized on your share price because people might want to invest in VLCC companies, or there are plenty of VLCC companies out there to invest. There are plenty of LNG companies for that to invest. We are, I would say, a real shipping company fulfilling our clients' needs and we have the operational huge capacity, because we do everything in-house, to do so.
Nico, I will underscore what you said. You have been the one who has been advocating prudent growth, not speculative growth. And exactly, you are client-driven, so you respond to the needs of your clients ordering new ships. And I remember the famous phrase that you coined in one of our forums when you turned to your co-panelists and said, please put your pens in your pockets, do not order more new buildings speculatively. So going away from your fleet now, looking at the overall tanker market, what is your fleet chartering strategy right now, given how strong the market is? Because you always advocate for the balanced fleet deployment and its benefits.
Well, we are in a situation that a combination of higher interest rates and uncertainty about the next day's fuel has kept ordering in all segments of, or most segments of our business, I would say, other than LNG, that has gone a little bit out of hand, to say the least, in a very low. I think we have an average of less than 7% in all the segments we participate, and I say it again, other than LNG, which has gone up to almost 50% of the fleet. And I think that's an accident waiting to happen in that segment very, very soon. It reminds us of the container days where people were overbuilding in containers and other segments of the market. But the remaining of the energy, and not only, is very well kept under, the supplies is kept under control. Demand has started and it's growing more and more after the COVID freeze. And at the same time, geopolitical events are making events like, we're seeing more and more tension in the Red Sea area. I think we had 3 ships just hit yesterday again. There is rumor that the Houthis are going to attack even more ferociously targets because of what the Israelis and the Americans are doing. At the same time, we're still trying to get the Panama Canal up to par with the water shortages and the drought. So all these are creating, I think, the background of another record year for our company. But of course, you cannot achieve those things without taking actions. And these actions we have been taking. We have been contracting long-term businesses with major oil companies, new businesses, modern ships, and we will be able to make further announcements as those ships, as those deals finalize in the next week, I hope.
Thank you, Nikos. Now, let's move on to another area where your company has exhibited significant leadership, green shipping initiatives. So what moves are you taking in that area? What initiatives are you implementing? And how do these align with your overall strategic objectives and performance goals?
Well, if you remember, we were the first company to run, or public company, okay, to run a full double fleet way before the double deadline was due. And I think that served us well. And we still, some of the ships that we built at the time to achieve that were still in our fleet, and they're beautiful, very solid vessels, candidates of sale as we speak. And some of them are being sold, but again at very attractive levels. And we want to do the same together with our clients on the new on green or greener energy. So we just acquired a fleet of 5 vessels, of which 2 are LNG fuel. Together with our existing 4, we will have 6 of them. We're in discussions for a large transaction to a very major oil company for methanol fuel ships. So I think again we will be in the forefront of new developments as we did 30 years ago. Thank you.
Now, let's move on to another topic. You recently announced the decision to double the semi-annual dividend distribution. Can you share some more light on the factors that influenced this decision, management decision in this regard?
Well, we are the major shareholders as the management. I think we're well in excess of 30% of the company. So we are perhaps different to some other companies. We are pari passu with our shareholders. We're not ship managers, and we do not make management for us is a cost. So we make all our income from actually our dividends and the company's profitability. And of course, when we have occasions where the company is doing so well, and hopefully will be doing better, it's an opportunity to reward our shareholders. I'm a very strong advocate of good dividends, solid dividends, without putting the company at risk. Because you might have companies out there that decide to pay 20, 25, 30% returns. And I think in the next couple of years, lawyers will be making lots of money trying to reconstruct those companies, in Chapter 11 or something like this. Our track record speaks to itself. But of course, we are there to increase dividends. I am one, as you know very well, I've done it in the past when I was much younger and naive. I'm not someone who enjoys share buybacks. I think that's you pay people to leave your company. I think this is it does not make sense. In case also our company has a very small free float, but I'm very, very happy to reward the investors that are with us. So, and that's why we have doubled it, and hopefully we can double it again in December. If things go the way we see them, that might be a very good possibility.
So, Nicolas, as I understand, with a good catchphrase, instead of paying people to leave the company, you're paying people to stay.
Exactly. I'm not. Everybody comes and gives you this. We have to do a buyback. I said, guys, buybacks are for desperate situations and not for companies that want people to stay with them for the long run. So, moving now to the overall tanker sector, we have a very minimal fleet order book. We have geopolitical factors
affecting the industry. The overall consensus is that the positive fundamentals are there, and this market still has legs to go. But what is your take on the sector outlook?
I agree with you. I think we are in for a good, solid period. I mean, the highs and lows have moved way above where they have edged up significantly. I mean, we would be happy in the old days. Well, we'll be very happy in the old days when the Afromaxes would average something starting with a 2, Suezmaxes with a 3, and high 30s or 40s for the VLs. So you know we are in a much higher environment right now. We have not seen anything. We have not seen anything lower than 30,000 for an Afromax, going up to 70,000 perhaps in some occasions, as we are currently seeing in the Caribbean and in the Mediterranean. So I think the supply and demand, together, as I mentioned, the geopolitical events are going to keep the market strong until we, as I've been saying in the past, until we shoot ourselves on the foot and overbuild and bring it back to very low levels. Hopefully, that will be after my retirement. So we've seen too many of those so far.
By the way, these are the positive signs. What challenge do you see coming either from regulation or geopolitics or potentially the global economic growth? What are the potential, what is there? I wouldn't say that keeps you awake, because I think nothing at this market keeps you awake, but are there some elements that cause some concern? Or
of course, I mean, we are always concerned because we are building ships and we're building them with partners, major oil companies that take out a lot of the risk up front. If they give you a 5, 7, or 10-year contract, it takes out a lot of the original risk. But of course, those ships, there might be a chance that by the time we take them, get them redelivered in 7 or 10 years, their technology might not be the appropriate one. So that is always a worry for us, because, as you know, those assets are expensive assets, and they need lots of depreciation, and usually you need 20 years to be able to make a good return out of them. I mean, we're seeing now, so we are selling 15 to 17-year-old assets that have made at least a 17% annual IRR for us at the same price that we had built them. So I mean, those are the good examples. But you have, in order to have good examples, you must have a same number of bad examples. So that of course, and we are worried about protectionism. We're seeing tensions growing. I mean, China has been really a driver of energy demand for many years. It's getting a little tired, and of course, protectionism and barriers in shipping is something we like, the free seas, and that's what makes Trump shipping, as we call it, profitable and exciting.
Nico, closing our discussion, I wanted to touch on another very interesting topic, that of maritime education. I think human resources, the welfare and the training of seafarers is a major challenge for the industry. And I know that the Maria Tsakos Foundation is doing pioneering work in the field of maritime education, and you have been a big proponent and supporter of that. So do you want to share a little bit more insight on the initiatives you take in that area?
Well, yes, I think it's very important, because when we sometimes we forget and we think that all this everything that we operate is a virtual it's a virtual vessel. It is not. It is there are ships that are manned by 20, 25 men and women, that at any time, and they're actually operating 24/7 in sometimes very dire weather conditions. So it's really a very complicated operation. model shipping, and you need, we might being able to build very high tech vessels with technologies that move very fast, but at the same time you have to have educated young men and women that are able to sit on the bridge or in the engine room and know what they're doing. So from our foundation is using the island we come from, the island of Chios, as the base. It's a natural seafarers and captains and engineers island, location and background, and to try to bring them up to new developments and new technologies. And it's a very expensive programs in millions and millions of dollars every year, but it's I think well worth it because we're building the next generation of seafarers. I do not see in the foreseeable future that in ocean going shipping we will be able, or you will be able to have unmanned vessels. So we better have our manned vessels manned and womaned by the very well educated personnel.
Nico, thank you very much for this very insightful and detailed discussion. I think we have come to the end of our discussion. We had the opportunity to have with us today Dr. Nikolas Tsakos, the founder and CEO of TEN Ltd. So, Nico, thank you very much for being with us.
Well, thank you, Nico. Thank you for, it's nice to be, as I said, in New York, although it's a little bit gray out there today, but it's great to be here. It's great to have the opportunity to explain our different strategy. And I mean, hopefully our share price, although it has moved, really has quadrupled in the last 18 months, but there is, I think it should really be in the solid 30s to be reflective of the value of the company. There are people who consider TEN a very conservative company because we're always profitable and we're always there to fulfill our obligations, but more than 50-60% of our fleet, I think this is something I missed to tell, 60% of our fleet is involved in the spot market together with our profit sharing arrangement. So there is we have a cushion to be protected and always cover our obligations, but we still have a significant upside, and perhaps this doesn't get out very often. So that would be a nice opportunity, and I think we have a slide in there that shows how many of our ships are taking advantage of this. So it's very hard, but we're trying to have our cake and eat it too, as they say here. And with that, I would like to thank you and hopefully see some of our shareholders down to Greece for Posidonia this year. All the best.
Thank you, Nico. The Posidonia event that you're going to be a big part of it on June 3rd. We look forward to it. So thank you, first of all, for being with us today. And again, you were very right. I think the balanced fleet strategy that you have implemented throughout so many years gives you the cushion on the downside, but allows you to benefit from the upside.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
Bye-bye.